Alright, so today I'm going over the most entertaining fights to make in the UFC right now. I'm going to be doing one fight per division, and apart from lightweight, I'm doing two fights for that division. I'm going to be doing no rematches, because I want to make some new fights. I want to make some fresh fights. So let's get started. For flyweight, I'm doing Kai France versus Cape. This fight would be insane. They have a rivalry. This fight was supposed to happen. It very possibly could happen. And if it does happen, it would be super entertaining. Every time these guys have a fight on the feet, it's entertaining. And imagine them against each other. You can't tell me this fight wouldn't be insane. This fight would be crazy, and I think it would end up being a war. It would be one of those fights that you walk away thinking this might be fight of the year. The striking exchanges between these two guys would be crazy, and there are some good alternatives because there are a lot of fun strikers in this division. I think Royval versus either of these guys would be a fun fight, and yeah, but this is a fight that'll make for flyweight. You know, they got a great rivalry. It has a possibility of happening, and the fight itself would be insane. So this is a fight that I would choose for flyweight. For bantamweight, Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. People have been wanting this matchup for a while. As soon as O'Malley became a top contender, everyone was saying that this is a match that they should make sometime in the future. And they're not wrong. I mean, two long-rangey strikers. Sandhagen's got a little bit of a crazy style. O'Malley, he's super entertaining on the feet. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he is a very entertaining fighter. And my only worry would be that Sandhagen tries to take him down, because Sandhagen's last fight against Rob Font was absolute dog shit, and the Cheeto Vera fight wasn't as entertaining as Sandhagen's other fights, because Sandhagen mixed up a little bit of grappling in there. But I don't think he'd be able to take O'Malley down. I think O'Malley would force this into a standing fight. Maybe Corey Sandhagen take him down once or twice, and make it a little boring at times, but I don't think so. And I don't even know if Sandhagen would take him down, because the only reason he took down Rob Font was because he was injured. But Sandhagen did also take down Cheeto Vera a couple times in their fight. But, I mean, he was striking with him too. But for this fight, I would definitely pick O'Malley. Or not definitely. This could be a close fight if Sandhagen mixes up the grappling, does good enough on the feet, he might be able to win, but O'Malley probably defends his takedowns, and this probably turns into a standing-only fight, which is what I would hope, because this fight would be crazy on the feet. It would be an insane fight on the feet to make. Every time these guys have a fight on the feet, it's entertaining, or almost every time they have a fight on the feet, it's entertaining. So yeah, this is a fight that I'll make for bantamweight. Let me know what you guys think about this one. There are a couple other good matchups, but this is a fight that I'll make personally. Featherweight, I'm making Calvin Kattar versus Edson Barboza. This fight would be crazy, man. For both of these guys, Calvin Kattar is a tough fucking fighter. You know, he took how many strikes from Max Holloway? He took an insane amount of damage from Max Holloway. So you don't got to worry about him getting knocked out early or anything. And Edson Barboza, man, he's just crazy. Like his last fight against Sadiq Yusuff, that fight was insane. And he made a comeback. He was losing, and he made an absolute comeback and won a decision. So yeah, and he's a wild fighter, man. This guy will throw some wild fucking shots. And yeah, you can't tell me that this fight between these two wouldn't be crazy. These guys are gonna throw bombs, they're gonna swing, they're both gonna go for a finish, and it's gonna be an insane fight. I'd love to see this as a 5-round fight night main event. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about this fight. I think it would be great. There are a couple other good alternatives. You know, Volk versus some people. Maybe Volk versus well, Volk versus Topuria is already happening. Maybe Holloway versus Topuria. That would be a crazy fight. But for me, honestly, I think this fight would be crazy. You know what else would be good? Edson Barboza versus Josh Emmett. That would be a great fight. But I think this fight might be a little bit better. Maybe a little bit. But hey, all those fights are good options. But this is the one that I'll personally choose. Alright, so as I said earlier, for lightweight, I said I'm going to do two matchups. I'm doing Fiziev versus Dan Hooker and Gaethje versus Jalen Turner. Both of these fights would be insane. You know, Fiziev versus Dan Hooker. Let's get started with that one. I know that a lot of people say, oh, Fiziev would run through him, Fiziev would run through him, but that's the same thing that they said about Jalen Turner. And then Dan Hooker put on a fucking crazy fight against him. Again, that fight was crazy. Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. That fight was insane. And Fiziev versus Dan Hooker, bro. Look at Fiziev's fight against Gaethje and look at Dan Hooker's fight against Jalen Turner. And just imagine those two guys going at it. That fight would be insane. That fight, I would love to see both of these fights. For Fiziev versus, I wouldn't even know who to pick for Fiziev versus Dan Hooker. I'd give Fiziev an edge, but Dan Hooker's a tough fucking fighter. Fiziev's gonna put some fucking damage on Dan Hooker, and Dan Hooker would take it. He would take the shots, and I think he would throw some back, and I think he would catch Fiziev a little bit. I could just picture this being a bloody war. Put it on a 5-round main event for the fight night, not the Apex. This fight needs to be in front of a fucking crowd. So yeah, that's the fight that I would choose for lightweight, or one of the fights I would choose for lightweight. Fiziev versus Dan Hooker, and rankings-wise, this makes sense. I think the UFC should book this next. Put it on 300. For the next fight, this fight doesn't really make sense ranking-wise, but I think it would be a good fight. Gaethje versus Jalen Turner. Now, the obvious pick here is Gaethje. I've seen actually people online saying that Jalen Turner beats Gaethje. I think that's a little crazy. I think it's a little bit of a crazy take. But I can't deny that the fight would be super fun. Jalen Turner, he's tall as fuck. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'4". He's a 6'4" lightweight, and he's got some power. Look at his last fight where he knocked out Bobby Green. Jalen Turner definitely has some power behind his shots. And Gaethje, he definitely has power behind his shots. Now, Gaethje definitely would win this fight, but for as long as it goes, it would be entertaining. I would like to see how Gaethje is able to deal with Jalen Turner's tall style. I mean, didn't Gaethje knock out some tall guy once? I think his name was James Vick. But I think he beats Jalen Turner, but Jalen Turner might give him some problems in the first round or two. But I think Gaethje eventually figures him out and probably catches him and knocks him out. But for as long as the fight goes, it would be entertaining. And hey, Jalen Turner does have some power, so maybe he could hurt Gaethje at points. Because Gaethje, he can get caught. In his last fight against Poirier, he looked very hard to hit, but it's not impossible to catch him. So I would love to see this fight. I'd love to see both of these fights. For welterweight, Jeff Neal's floating a little bit there, if you fucking see that. But Jeff Neal versus Jack Dillon, JDM. I'm just gonna say JDM because I fucking froze up trying to say his name. But yeah, I feel like these guys have a very similar style. I feel like they're kind of the same fighter. But the fight would be insane. Look at both of their last fights. Jeff Neal against Shavkat and JDM against Kevin Holland. If these two guys fought, I feel like it would end up being a war. Whenever both of these guys fight, they do have wars. They have wars. Jack Della, he fought that one random guy that I forget his name. Basil Chavez. Before he beat Kevin Holland, he fought Basil Chavez. And then before that, he just fought some bum and knocked him out. But both of these guys got crazy power. They got a similar style. And I think they'll just run forward and start throwing. And I think this fight would end up being a war. I think this fight could end up being fight of the year if they made it this year. But Jack Della has a fight against Gilbert Burns. So if he wins that, this fight probably won't happen. Because then he'll be way ahead of Jeff Neal in the rankings. But if Jeff Neal beats Ian Gary, maybe it could happen. But yeah, I hope this fight happens sometime. I feel like these guys got a very similar style, and I think that would be a great fight if they fought. I'd maybe give JDM the edge, but Jeff Neal's no joke, man. He's a solid striker. So I'd love to see these two fight, because I feel like they're the same fighter, honestly. Middleweight, Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa. I would definitely pick Cannonier in this fight, but two fucking big buff middleweights that are just gonna go out and swing. Fucking, they're gonna both go crazy. Both of their fights are super entertaining. Whenever these two guys fight, it's almost entertaining, almost all the time. Jared Cannonier, let me think of his last couple fights. His last fight when he beat the shit out of Vettori. Man, he put a beating on Vettori. I'm surprised that Vettori was able to eat all those shots. And then before that, he fought Strickland. That fight wasn't super entertaining. Before that, he fought Izzy. Yeah, that fight wasn't entertaining. But before that, I forget who he fought, but all the fights before that were entertaining. His fight against Whitaker was entertaining. His fight against Brunson was entertaining. Cannonier always puts on an entertaining fight, and so does Costa. Listen, I give Costa a lot of criticism because he never fights and he pulls out of every fight. But whenever he does fight, you're in for a fun fight. So I think if both of these guys fought, it would be a fun fight. They're both, well, Costa isn't that much of a power puncher, but Cannonier is a power puncher, and Costa, he likes to go for it. He likes to swing. So I'd love to see these two fight. Next fight, light heavyweight, Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Rountree. Again, rankings-wise, it doesn't make the most sense, but listen, if they really wanted to, they could take Rakic out that fight and put Rountree in, because this fight would be insane. This fight would be crazy. Yuri, if you're watching a Yuri fight, you're guaranteed to almost always be watching an entertaining fight, unless someone just tries to wrestle fuck him, and Rountree won't do that. I would love to see Rountree and Yuri fight, man. I'd like to see how Yuri deals with his leg kicks. I think Yuri probably could, because he was able to eat a couple from Pereira. Pereira was starting to get to him with his leg kicks, but Rountree is not an ounce, not a fucking tenth of the fucking fighter that Pereira is. But you can't tell me that this fight wouldn't be good. This would be a super crazy fight. I would obviously pick Yuri, but Rountree looked decent in this fight against Anthony Smith. Now, it was Anthony Smith on short notice, and Anthony Smith isn't in his prime anymore. But man, I could just see these two being a crazy fight. Roundtree's got a lot of power. Yuri, he's just an insane fighter. I feel like this fight would be a war, but I would pick Yuri for sure. heavyweight, Cirylgane versus Sergeipavlovich. Man, you know, you got Cirylgane, who's more of a technical striker. You got Sergeipavlovich, a big power forward, striker that just comes forward and fucking swings. I would like to see how Cirylgane could deal with that. How would Cirylgane deal with Sergeipavlovich just trying to walk him down and knock him out? Because Aspinall dealt with it just by knocking out Sergey. Could Cirylgane do that? I just think that Sergey would force this to be a fucking crazy fight. I think it would be similar to the Ty versus Cirylgane fight, but I think Sergey would be a much more of a threat. And Ty almost knocked out Cirylgane, so maybe Sergey could catch Cirylgane and knock him out, or maybe Cirylgane could school him. This is a 50-50 fight. It's a crazy fight. Maybe I'd give Gane the edge, but I think it would end up being a crazy fight, and yeah. So those are my picks for the most entertaining fights to make in every division. Let me know what you guys think. Put in the comments what fights you would make. Put in the comments that you think what fights wouldn't be as entertaining as I say they would. And like, subscribe, comment, all that.